Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. So Donna and I will be today's presenter, and we're really excited to share about what will be the alternatives at Penn beyond hiring our international employees as HA status and H-1B status. All right. So I will just do a little bit introduction of myself. My name is Huan Yan. I'm ISS advisor in Donna.
Hi, I'm Donna Steinfeld, Senior Associate Director Advising Services at ISSS.
All right, thank you, Donna, and thank you everyone for joining us today. So we will talk about today's presentation. We will talk about those categories listed here. So I will be introducing about OPT, STEM OPT, what are they, and also TNE3, and Donna will take over for visitor categories, O1 option, and permanent residency. And those are actually very common alternatives for J and H. And I believe you might have already encountered them on your daily jobs. So let's look at what is OPT and STEM OPT. What is OPT and STEM OPT? So in general, OPT is for international students, F1 students who are study full-time in the USA, and they are actually, if they want to, save the whole 12 months after they graduate, it's called post-completion OPT, and it's 12 months per degree level. And usually for students who are in a STEM major, which they are in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics majors, they could be eligible for STEM OPT extension, which will bring them extra 2 more years to their OPT. And that's what we call STEM OPT extension. And as employer or as a hiring manager, what you will need to do to help the international students to get the STEM OPT extension is actually to fill out the I-983 training plan. All right. So, so what is usually OPT? So OPT, for if you encounter them, it could be either Penn-sponsored F1 students, or it could be F1 students from other school. They can present their EAD card, which is employment authorization document, to you, and then they can be onboarded to work for you. And for STEM OPT extension, as I mentioned earlier, they can bring extra 24 months, which is 2 more years to their 1 year OPT session. So totally there will be 3 years if a student is a STEM major. And as a hiring personnel, you need to fill out the I-983 training plan. And then there are some sessions on the I-983 training plan as a hiring manager you need to fill, such as the E-Verify number, but usually ISSS does not know that information. If you would like to know about E-Verify number or some numbers about Penn employees, you will need to reach out to the Central HR Management Office to get that number. So usually if the student is hired by under F1 OPT or STEM OPT extension, they do not need sponsorship from Penn if they are not Penn student. That to be said, if they are Penn-sponsored F1 students in the OPT and STEM OPT session, they will be managed by ISS's office. If they are not sponsored by Penn for F1 status, they are other schools F1 status in OPT and STEM OPT extension, then their record needs to be managed by their school. So they would, if they have immigration questions, they would normally not go to ISSS Penn to get answered. They need to go to their own F1 sponsor school to get answers and help for their F1 status. All right, so that's about F1 OPT and STEM OPT extension. Now we can talk about another common alternative to a J and H, which is TN visa status. So TN actually is for citizens of Canadian citizens and Mexican citizens. And in general, if a citizen is from Canada, they do not need to have a visa. They don't need to apply for visa. And there are actually 2 ways to get a TN status. One is to apply at a U.S. consulate for Mexican citizen or at the US border for Canadian citizen. Sometimes the Mexican citizens can also apply at the border to be admitted at the border as well. Another thing is if they want to apply within USA, which is what we call change of status, they will need to go through ISSS. But usually for change of status application, it takes a rather long time. So we normally would recommend people to consider obtaining their TN status through the border or make a travel. So the next option is, so back to the TN status, I just want to mention, there is actually a list of a checklist on ISS website. So if you do have any foreign nationals in your office is inquiring about TN options, you could refer them to ISS website, and then we do have a detailed guidance there, including what are the documents to prepare, etc. So now we can move to next option, which is E3. For E3, it's also specific for Australian citizens. So usually it has a similar procedure as H1B. You will need to submit the E3 applications on IPEN. And after you submit the application on IPEN, the ISS advisor will do the weight analysis and also submit LCA for this person. And then once LCA is returned, then you can choose, well, the employee can choose to either do it within USA, which is what we call a change of status, or make a travel, go through the US consulate, obtaining visa, and come back. And E3 dependents, one of the benefit is E3 dependents, if they have family here, they could apply for the work authorization with USCIS. So one of the benefit of E3 dependent is they can work in the USA. All right, so those are the procedures to apply for E3. As I mentioned earlier, the department or you specifically will be filling out the E3 request on IPAD. And after the E3 request is submitted to ISSS, the assigned advisor will do the reviewing and do the outreach analysis and will be the point of a contact of you. So if you do have any questions, you can reach out to the assigned advisor for clarifications. And once the LCA is returned, and then this person could either apply for change of status in the USA or could apply for, could make a travel, go to the US consulate to apply for a visa sticker on the passport and return to be admitted as an E3 status. There are certain application fees. I would recommend you, if you are interested in E3 or if you do have any employees that would like to explore this option, you could actually go to ISS website. We do have the detailed guidance of the application fee. There will be some internal fees and also some government filing fees. All right, so I will hand it over to Donna.
Hi, everyone. So in regards to, this is something that's going to apply more to someone who's just coming for a few days. So what is allowed in regards to foreign nationals are coming, so they're coming for the purposes of a B1, B2, or ESTA, which is the visa waiver for those countries that don't require a visitor visa to come to the US. So this is not a work authorization or work visa. It's more that they're coming, they're maybe attending a conference, going to a convention, just consulting, not, just coming in to consult with associates in the US. They're not receiving a salary from a US source for this purpose, but they can get honorarium. And that's so as long as that stay at Penn is not more than 9 days, and they have not received honorarium for more than 5 institutions or organizations over the last 6 months. So it's definitely something good to talk to, like the tax office and Employee Solutions Center if you have someone who's going to be going down that route. Now, the other one is the O1, which is person of extraordinary ability. Some of you may have had O1s in that you have sponsored before, but if not, basically, as the definition is there, is basically they've achieved and sustained national or international acclaim. So a lot of it is going to depend on the person's background, the achievement they've done. And for our purposes, it's going to basically be more in the research area or teaching area where someone is going to be eligible for the O1. It is something that goes through our outside legal counsel program. It's a pretty detailed, in-depth application that is put together. So it does go to the lawyers. It can be for the first period of time. It's up to 3 years for the first request, and then it is 1 year extensions going beyond that. And unless there is a significant change in the position. So, and that's indefinite. It doesn't have an end date, but it does have to be renewed every year at a time. And a lot of times this does come in handy if there's someone who's subject to the 2-year residency and they can't change or get an H-1B visa. Or maybe they're at the end of their H-1B time, or and you would want to consider this, a few months before, at least like 6 to 8 months before someone's exhausting their H-1B time. This is an alternative for those who qualify. So it's definitely something to consider. It's similar to the H in regards to return of transportation abroad if they're dismissed. But the key thing is that this is being initiated through IPEN, and then we will bring in the law firms to help with the actual processing. And it does, again, is really going to depend on the person's credentials. So as I mentioned before, it's going to be, there's an e-form and IPEN. So when you go into the person's record in IPEN, you'll be able to initiate that O1, and you'll select one of our outside counsel firms. And then what we do is they're going to request the law firm's going to do like a consultation. They're going to ask for an input of materials. And what will apply is any of the applicable legal and filing fees. It is a little bit more of a costly process than an H-1B, but it's very much more involved. The next option we're going to talk about is employer-sponsored permanent residency at Penn. So just so you know, the main areas of sponsorship. There's just one type of sponsorship that is done through ISSS, and it's referred to as special handling for teaching faculty, or outside legal counsel program also handles anything that's more like a standard labor certification. There's something referred to as outstanding professor researcher cases. There is other areas like national interest waiver. Those are going to be the main ones that are going to be employer sponsored. And those are determined at the within the law firm, or if it's something where for special handling, it's something we're able to do in-house. So just to kind of go a little bit more into the special handling, it's a very time sensitive process. So we definitely recommend, if you have someone, especially if it's like an assistant professor that you're bringing on board, or they've just started at Penn, that is when you're going to want to start this process for them. So the key thing is that there's a teaching component to the job, and there's been a competitive recruitment. The ads mention teaching, but we do have to file what they call the perm. It's a part of the Department of Labor process, a perm labor certification within 18 months of that selection. So this Department of Labor and their processes are taking quite a long time right now. So the key thing is that if you have someone in this, you want to start it right away, because the first step that we have to do with Department of Labor is getting a prevailing wage before we can even do the perm, and that alone takes about 6 to 8 months right now. What's nice about special handling is that it's a much more straightforward process than some of the other routes to get a green card, in that you are relying on, as long as it's done in a timely manner, you can use recruitment that's already done, and you don't have to show that someone is the only qualified applicant. There's just that they're the best applicant for the position, which is a nice aspect of this, which they've made a little bit more straightforward and easy for, like, intended for teaching faculty. Okay. Now, in regards to who we sponsor, usually it's going to be, as I mentioned before, whether it's assistant professors, research associate, faculty positions, but the university does have a policy that they do not sponsor staff positions for permanent residents. So any department looking that they would like to try and do a sponsorship, it does have to go through an exception process. And there is a committee that reviews all the requests in regards to that, if for policy 119. So there is a committee that any request a letter has to be provided. And you can see the exceptions on the right-hand side there. So basically, it's a current full-time, regular part-time Penn staff member. Part-time is going to be a little bit more difficult to prove, but at least a full-time is much better. They passed an introductory period. They're unique. They have a unique skill set. It's difficult to find what they have among US applicants. And the position itself is the same way. So that's something that is going to be a little bit more, go through additional vetting to see if we can get to the point where we are going to bring outside counsel in. Excuse me. The PRE form, again, also in the IPEN record of the employee, where you can initiate it there. It goes through a review, and if it's special handling, it's a teaching faculty, and you want us to handle it, it's going to come to us to handle. If not, it's going to go to outside counsel. So anything additional is needed. So basically what'll happen, especially for the ones that go to outside counsel, is that you're going to have one designated person at ISSS who is the case and is going to work with the department contact and liaison with the law firm. And then all the fees, we have a summary of legal fees on our website, and it's going to depend on the process that's pursued. So I've mentioned these are the two law firms, Goldblum, Collins and Dennis, and Clasco Immigration Law Partners are the two firms that are part of our outside legal counsel program. And so they are the ones that are going to do, except for the special handling, they're going to be reviewing and working with the individual. So after the case goes to them, they will propose a path of what they suggest and evaluate the options and which are going to be more solid than others, and kind of go from there. Well, I hope everyone enjoys this beautiful fall day, even though it's Monday. So makes it a little better to have a nice, warm, sunny day. But yeah, take care, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.